At the arrival site of the bus Ares 3, Acidalia Planitia, Mars, at an at-once not-so-distant future, the team of the Hermes, including leader Melissa Lewis, Jessica Chastain, botanist Tim Watney, Matt Damon, IT master Beth Johansson, Kate Mara, pilot Rick Martinez, Michael Pena, flight specialist Chris Beck, Sebastian Stan, and guidance scientist Alex Vogel, Axel Henny, are gathering tests before re-emerging their living office, the Hab. The group discovers that a tempest is drawing closer. The tempest's force and high breezes lead Commandant Lewis to arrange a mission cutoff. Watney contends for enduring it and raises the back as the group makes a beeline for the MOV, Mars Climb Vehicle, the boat that will return them to the circling Hermes, in their suits. Weighty breezes and sandblasts encompass them. A satellite dish severs and strikes Watney, taking him away from the remainder of the team. Lewis attempts to direct the others to track down Watney, yet perceivability is exceptionally poor and the tempest is areas of strength for excessively them. They head once more into the MOV without Watney and lift off. The pilot, Martinez, is scarcely ready to hold the rocket back from overturning, however the send-off from the planet is effective. Back on the planet, NASA Chief Teddy Sanders, Jeff Daniels, holds a public interview to report that while the Hermes team prevailed with regards to leaving Mars, Imprint Watney was lost, and he is proclaimed dead. Watney awakens on Mars on what is Sol 21, mission day 21, after the tempest has passed. His oxygen is draining quickly, so he advances back to the natural surroundings station. He's been pierced by part of a radio wire, which actually juts from his mid-region. The mix of the radio wire and his own blood fixed the suit barely to the point of keeping the vast majority of his air from spilling out. In an excruciating method, Watney hauls the receiving wire out, utilizes forceps to fish out a piece that's severed in the injury, then staples the injury shut. He plunks down to make a video log, where he frames what is happening. He's alive, yet he can't contact Earth or Hermes. It'll be 4 years before the following monitored mission is sent off, and with the food supply in the natural surroundings implied for himself and the other 5 team individuals, he has very nearly a year of food, or somewhat longer in the event that he proportions. Subsequently, Watney confirms that he needs to grow 3 years of food on a planet where nothing develops. Fortunately for him, he's a botanist and devises an arrangement to develop potatoes. At NASA in Houston, Texas, Sanders has quite recently gotten back from a commemoration administration for Imprint Watney, where he talked about Watney's devotion to investigation. Mars mission chief Vincent Kapoor, Chidel Ejiofor, converses with Sanders about getting satellite opportunity to find Watney's body. Sanders declines in light of the fact that the satellite feeds are public and broadcasting photos of Watney's cadaver would be a political and monetary calamity for NASA. Afterward, engineer Mitty Park, Mackenzie Davis, meets with Kapoor after she finds proof of action in satellite photographs of the Ares 3 site, low-goal pictures obviously taken in a standard flyby. The sunlight-based chargers have been cleaned and the Meanderer has moved. They get Sanders and Overseer of Media Relations Annie Montrose, Kristen Wiig, to show them that Watney is as yet alive. A couple of Sol's, Martian days, after the fact, inside the living space, Watney has established potatoes utilizing Martian soil and vacuum-fixed bundles of the group's excrement as manure, to his disdain. Requiring more water for the potato crop, he consumes hydrazine rocket fuel. A side effect of the response is water. On his most memorable endeavor to light the hydrazine, he causes a moderate blast, burning his dress and hair. Watney takes note of that this touchy inclination is the explanation that NASA doesn't utilize unadulterated hydrogen. As he keeps on chipping away at his food supply, he continues onward with the video logs and chooses to utilize a meanderer to come to the Schiaparelli pit that will be the arrival site for Ares 4 in 4 years. Since the battery-fueled meanderer can't cover the entire distance, he changes it, adding some powered cells and an additional battery. To save battery power, the unit of plutonium used to get the group to Mars in their unique space apparatus fills in as an intensity source in the lodge. Watney utilizes the Meanderer to find a Pathfinder test that quit sending in 1997. He desires to utilize it to reach out to NASA. He gets the old test out from underneath the sand, spreads its sunlight-powered chargers to charge the batteries, finds that it actually works. Utilizing transcribed finishes paperwork for the Pathfinder's camera, he can make an impression on NASA affirming that he is alive. Kapoor can get the message since he and associates at the Fly Drive Lab, JPL, who constructed the Pathfinders, have hauled one more Pathfinder out of capacity, gathered together the architects who chipped away at it, and got it working once more. They figure out how to speak with Watney, first by panning the Mars Pathfinder's camera to point at yes or no signs when Watney inquires as to whether his sign is being gotten, and afterward by panning around a hexadecimal clock that Watney has fixed on the ground around his Pathfinder. NASA utilizes this framework to let him know how to hack the Wanderer's working framework so it can communicate text back to Earth. At the point when Watney, at long last ready to type his messages visit style, asks how the Hermes group took the news that he wasn't dead, Kapoor remorsefully lets him know that the team hasn't been told. Watney answers with indecencies, which are communicated everywhere. Watney's story turns into an overall sensation. His correspondences with NASA are logged, and in line with PR chief Annie Montrose, he utilizes the Pathfinder's camera to take a space-suited selfie, in a two-thumbs-up Fonzie present, which Montrose could do without on the grounds that she can't see his face. Kapoor advises her that imprint can't eliminate his protective cap close to the camera, which is outside the hab. In the meantime, the team on board Hermes has spent the most recent few months unobtrusively flying back toward Earth while staying in contact with their friends and family. The flight head of Ares 3, Mitch Henderson, Sean Bean, contacts the group and illuminates them that Watney is alive, and that NASA has saved it from them throughout the previous 2 months to not occupy them from their central goal. The news just drives them crazy and culpability-ridden. However, Henderson lets them know that Watney has pushed more than once that it wasn't their shortcoming and they had motivation to accept that he was dead. The people at NASA discover that they can arrive at Watney by Sol 868. The food he's developing in addition to the proportions in the hab will run out in a piece north of 900 days. Sanders worries that the room for mistakes is excessively little. Back on Mars, things start to turn sour for Watney when the territory's exhausted isolated space dangerously depressurizes, tossing the airtight chamber a few distance while he's inside it and making his protective cap break and hole. He utilizes pipe tape to seal the breaks and staggers back to the living space to find his potato crop frozen and dead. With less food, he presently figures he can endure just somewhat more than 300 sols, or somewhat longer assuming the proportions. NASA and JPL stay at work past 40 hours and immediately send off a test to resupply Watney. To make their send-off window they sidestep routine reviews, and minutes subsequent to sending off, the test's direction moves harshly and it steers off kilter and detonates. In the meantime in China, 2 chiefs from the Chinese Public Space Organization, Zhu Tao, Chen Shu, and Go Ming, Vortex Co., witness the blast and examine assisting NASA by offering their grouped sponsor with soaring innovation to send off a stockpile crate. Go Ming asks Zhu Tao for what good reason NASA has not currently requested their assistance, and Zhu Tao advises him that it is a highly confidential program that NASA wouldn't have any information on. They conclude that in light of a legitimate concern for global logical coactivity, they will contact NASA and deal their promoter rocket. Rich Bernal, Donald Glover, a capricious and distracted however splendid astrodynamicist, devises an arrangement to speed up the returning Hermes around Earth, acquiring a gravitational lift and sending it back to Mars to get Watney. The Chinese rocket will resupply the Hermes for its drawn-out journey. Sanders blackballs this plan since it endangers the 5 Hermes team individuals and will expand their main goal by many days, yet Henderson furtively sends the arrangement and Purnell's course computations to the group. The team talks it over. They comprehend that the secret appearance of the arrangement implies that NASA Metal have dismissed the thought. They expect to be that assuming they return to Mars, the 2 military individuals, Lewis and Martinez, will be court-martialed for uprising and the 3 regular people won't ever be permitted to fly another mission. Lewis requires a consistent vote, and they all consent to return for Watney. Johansson hacks the Hermes PCs to keep NASA from assuming command and they head in a different direction, sending an enigmatic message to Houston. Rich Purnell is a steely-looked at Rocket Man. Sanders is irate with Henderson, who he accepts sent the arrangement to Hermes. Henderson doesn't deny, however won't affirm his activities all things considered. Sanders makes sense of that his need is for NASA to continue to fly. However, Congress is exceptionally delicate to general assessment and the terrible exposure that would result assuming Purnell's arrangement fizzled would probably lessen NASA's spending plan into the indefinite future. He requests Henderson's abdication when the mission is finished. Then, at that point, he's compelled to report that NASA is sending Hermes back to Mars to save Watney. 7 months pass on Mars. Watney has lost a great deal of weight, has grown a ton of beard growth, and his teeth are spoiling. He has begun losing trust in his endurance and salvage. He records a video log requesting that Leader Lewis let his folks know of his destiny. NASA sends him directions to make broad alterations to the Meanderer, which Watney bemusedly performs. He gets together the Meanderer and leaves the Ares 3 site, having burned through 461 sols there, and heads for the Ares 4 MOV, which was dropped on Mars.